Welcome to Loop City. We are five guys who love hoops, entertainment, and culture. We're getting started today with our NBA season previews. I'm Pete Toal, and my co-host today are DJ Gonzostar and Coach Matt. We're going to preview the Central Division. We also have a special segment for all you NFL fans towards the end of the show. Gonzo is going to talk about his matchup of the week, as well as highlighting who's been good and who's been asked so far in the NFL. There's a few teams that and players that haven't been good, so stay tuned for that. Guys, let's get right into the preview, starting with the Indiana Pacers. Matt, let everybody know what the Pacers looked like last season.
Okay, last year the Pacers had a record of 25-57. They finished 13th in the Eastern Conference. Was first year with Rick Carlisle. He'll be back again. Points per game, 111.5, middle of the pack. Opponents' points per game, 114.9, towards the bottom, 26 of 30. They had an offensive, their pace was 98, so middle of the pack again. Offensive rating, 112.6, middle of the pack. Defensive rating, 116.1, bottom of the NBA, 28th out of 30. So you can kind of see defensively they had issues last year. And in fairness, I believe Miles Turner did miss a decent amount of games, and he kind of is their defensive anchor at the big man spot.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're projected right now, over under is 23.5 wins. Gonzo, I'm going to you on this one. What do you think of the Pacers' chances going into the season? You think they're going to be good, bad, in between?
The only chance they really should be concerned with is chance at a lottery pick, because they won't be a playoff team. It amazes me. Somebody like Rick Carlisle, who I liked as a coach, he kind of started to fall off in Dallas, and then he comes to the Pacers, and he's inherited such a bad situation. I hate to see coaches get in situations like these, because sometimes this might put them in like a rut. And when I say rut, I mean they might not ever be able to dig themselves out of this type of job to get another good coaching gig. The Pacers are terrible. I mean, they're like obviously they're rebuilding. You get rid of Malcolm Brogdon, T.J. Warren. I mean, you're getting rid of good quality guys, but you just don't have enough. Miles Turner was hurt last year. I mean, you just don't have enough. They won't trade Buddy Hield. I just want to know, what are they doing? Are you going in for the rebuild, or are you trying to make play in? I mean, what are you doing here? Because, I mean, the only thing on their minds right now should be tanking.
I think what's on their mind is Victor Wembanyama. I hope I said his name right, Pete.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, I think that's what's on their mind. And developing Benedict Mathurin, hoping they can get something out of a guy like Aaron Nesmith, who they traded for, who I still like. I think he's got a shot. It takes shooters sometimes a little longer to develop. We saw it with J.J. Redick, and Nesmith was younger coming into the league.
I just don't know. I'm more looking towards not necessarily Nesmith. I'm looking to see, because Chris Duarte is already older.
Mm-hmm. And they've got Halliburton.
And they've got Halliburton, who they got for Domas. Greg, yes. Let me go back to you real quick. So what did you think of that Halliburton-Sabonis trade? Was it a good trade for the Pacers, or should they have kept Domas?
They should have kept Domas. I'm not giving away Sabonis. I think, to me, in my opinion, I think he should have been the most untouchable piece. He should have been touched. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to tell you that I'm great with analytics, but he was the best player on their team.
Two-time All-Star as well.
Yes, and you get rid of a guy like that? Like, so what are you doing at this point? At this point, everybody on the team, it should be a clearance sale. Get rid of everything and tank, so you can get what you need to get in the lottery.
Damn.
I mean, to me, I know with Miles Turner, the Lakers weren't willing to give up the 2 picks because they don't want to mortgage the future for Miles Turner, and he's injury prone. And then I guess Hield would be thrown into that as well. So you technically would get shooting, and you would get a big man that can stretch the floor with it, obviously we're not talking about the Lakers, but I feel like the Lakers would have benefited from that trade. It helps the Pacers go younger. You develop Isaiah Jackson as a center. You've already got Jalen Smith, who came over from Phoenix last year, who's already, penciled in as the power forward according to Rick Carlisle. He can stretch the floor as well.
He's going to start, right?
He is going to start. And see, I wonder. So you got Jalen Smith as a stretch big. Miles Turner's kind of a stretch big. Who's going to be down there rebounding? That's where Sabonis would have been beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely. It just didn't make sense if that was the direction you were going. Matt, who do you think could be an X factor if they were to try to push for the play-in? Who do you think that maybe could be somebody that could step up enough to get them there?
Obviously, we know Halliburton and Miles Turner. We know what they're going to do when they play. So I think it's Benedict Mathurin. I think he's the guy, and a guy like Duarte, because we know even though he's older, he can play. He showed signs last year of being to be a good role player in the NBA. Can make the three, play a little defense, handle it in the pick and roll. And Mathurin is just an athletic freak, can shoot the ball. So you see the potential there defensively as a shooter. A guy who can get to the rim. I mean, we saw some of the highlights at Arizona. The guy, he's good. So I think it's Benedict and it's Duarte. I think are the two X factors for them. And can Nesmith make shots?
Gotcha. Gonzo, so looking at Turner and Hield, did they get dealt before the trade deadline, do you think? I think they should.
At this point, if you got to give away Sabonis and a key piece on your team, like you said, 2-time All-Star, he was a good rebounder. We know he can put the ball in the hole. And you get rid of him, everything else must be on sale as well, on the clearance rack. Get rid of it. Get rid of Hill. Get rid of Turner. Why waste time? Push yourself far down to the bottom of the East as possible so you can get the picks you need so you can start this rebuild expeditiously.
Mm-hmm. I think there's only two untouchables on their team, honestly. Halliburton and Mathurin. Those are the only untouchables, I would assume. Would you say that's about right, Pete?
I might throw in Duarte just because I like his skill set where he is.
Yeah.
So maybe Isaiah Jackson as far as a front court guy, because you don't want to give up all of your bigs.
No.
I just don't see them being good defensively. They were already 28th last year. They're going to be right there, if not maybe a little worse this year. I don't know how much of a leap we're going to get from Tyrese Halliburton, especially with the Eastern Conference being as packed as it is with guards. How is he ever going to make an all-star team to justify that trade of Sabonis for Halliburton? Unless he takes a massive leap and just becomes a totally different player. Right now, he plays as like an under-control guard that gives you a little bit of everything and doesn't really take over games with the scoring or playmaking or anything.
No.
And so it's not going to be at an all-star level. So I just don't know, definitely to Gonzo's point, what are they doing here? Like, just break it all down and start over. But speaking of starting over, let's go to our next team, the Detroit Pistons. Matt, what you got for what they did last year?
Okay, so last year they were 23-59, 14th in the Eastern Conference. Dwayne Casey is the coach. He's still there. They 104.8 points per game, 28 out of 30. Defensively, 112.5. They were 22nd. Their offensive rating, 106.28. The defense, they were bad defensively. They were middle of the pack in pace, but offensively and defensively, they were really bad. Like, they didn't shoot the ball that well. But I think, you know how I feel about their draft when we did our draft preview. I love what they did, and I'll we'll go to I'll let you go to Gonzo, but Gonzo knows how I feel about Cade Cunningham.
Now I want to know. That was going to be my question for Gonzo. So you've got Cunningham, and now you've got Jaden Ivey. I think Cunningham is the lead ball handler. Ivey kind of plays the combo role. That's kind of what I think. But Gonzo, what do you foresee as far as the backcourt? Are they going to be good enough in the backcourt to kind of put some people on notice?
Absolutely. I really didn't pay attention to the Pistons last year. I knew Cade Cunningham obviously was on the Pistons. But me and Matt talked about it. Matt talked about it most of the year. And then I started watching him like late in the year last year. And after All-Star break, they were kind of a different team. Like, they played good as a unit. I know the record doesn't show, but if you watch those games, you'll notice that they actually worked very well as a team and were very close in a lot of their games. They played a lot of very close games down the stretch. And I started to recognize, like, wow, these guys actually can play. Marvin Bagley was a good pick for them. Jaden Ivey, the draft pick. Him, Cade Cunningham. You got Kimber Walker. You got Bogdanovich. You get Nerlens Noel. Like, I'm talking about just the team as a whole. Like, it's much improved. I got this team as one of the play-in teams in the East. I got them as a play-in team in the East. But in the backcourt, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, man, this could be dangerous. This is what's good for the NBA. The Pistons are showing you this is how you rebuild. And they're doing it.
And they've got money to spend next year as well. So they've set it up to where they've got picks in the draft, money to spend in free agency, young guys they can build around. They're doing it the right way. And, of course, Troy Weaver's from the school of OKC with Sam Presti. So, I mean, you got to give him credit. One of the guys I'm intrigued with, I don't know that he plays a ton straight out of the gate, is Jalen Duren, the big man. I think he'll overtake Nerlens Noel in a backup role at some point, and Noel will get dealt to a different team that maybe could use his skill set defensively as a rim protector. But Bogdanovich gets traded from Utah for Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. Obviously, Bogdanovich is going to be the starter, everybody presumes, at power forward to be able to stretch the floor next to Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart.
Sadiq Bey, right?
Sadiq Bey's the 3. Ivy's going to play the 2 because he can combo guard because they want Cade on the ball as much as possible. So if Cade's on the ball as much as possible, don't be shocked to see him as a sleeper for an all-star pick if Detroit can come out of the gate hot and heavy. That's kind of my hot take.
Hey, I'm with you on that. I was just going to mention that when we were talking about Halliburton. Cade's making it before Halliburton will.
Agree.
He's a better player, but I like Tyrese Halliburton. I like the trade with Bogdanovich. You know, trading also for Alec Burks in the Nerlens Noel trade with the Knicks. Kimball Walker, I think they're going to buy him out or something. They're going to figure he's not going to play. I don't think. But the Bogdanovich trade is sneaky to me.
Yeah. Because it gives them a veteran presence in the locker room, gives them a shooter at the 4 spot.
And at the trade deadline, he can net you a first-round pick.
Yep. And rumor was that the Jazz were close to getting a first for him, but the other teams like Phoenix and stuff wanted a little bit more thrown in. So they weren't willing to do that. But I think with Detroit, I think they can be right there in the play-in because I mean, this is kind of spoiling later, but I like Detroit better than I like Washington.
Yes.
You know, like teams like that, Charlotte, like Orlando, obviously, like those teams are all behind in my book to Detroit. But let's go now to both of you guys live in Illinois. So I'll be interested to hear your takes. I think it could go either way. Chicago Bulls. But first, Matt, what did they do last year?
Okay, they were 46-36. And we do have to preface this in fairness to Billy Donovan. I think he did a fantastic job last year. Lonzo Ball basically missed the entire second half of the season, essentially. And they were number 1 in the East before he got hurt. I think they would have been top 4 if he doesn't get hurt. But that's my spiel for now. About almost 112 a game, 13th out of 30, middle of the pack. Defensively, they were middle of the pack at 112 opponents' points, 17 of 30. They were middle of the pack in pace at 98.3. It makes sense with the offensive, the isolation scores they have. Offensive rating, 113.2, 13 of 30, middle of the pack. Defensive rating, 113.6, 22nd, which bottom third of the league, surprising a little bit. But I think a lot of that had to do with Lonzo being out. They dropped defensively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they get bounced basically in the first round versus Milwaukee because they're not healthy. They do have an over-under of 44.5 wins this year. I think that was put out before the news that Lonzo's going to be out for a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks. It sounds pretty sketchy, everything I've heard, as far as Lonzo's knee is good sometimes and he works out a little more aggressive and it's not working. He had another procedure done. So, Gonzo, going to you. Obviously, you watch a ton of Chicago Bulls. Where do you see them without Lonzo Ball right now? Where do you see them kind of starting out the season?
I see him as an 8th, 7th, or 8th seed. Before I point this out, earlier this week, ESPN, I think they rated DeMar DeRozan 27th or 28th player in the NBA. And I've had people argue me all week. And I'm standing by my argument. I can name 20 people better than DeMar DeRozan. He does not deserve to be in the top 20. Just want to state that. Chicago Bulls, they have done nothing to improve their team to me, except for they got Drummond, a little more rebounding. But defensively, he's a liability. We saw what he did against the Celtics in the playoffs. He looked like trash defensively against the Boston Celtics.
He's been trash defensively. He's a turnstile.
Yes. And now
there it is. Pete said it, the turnstile. There it is.
Yes. And, me not paying attention to Drummond as much and watching that series showed me that dude, I don't care how many rebounds he gives up, he's probably going to give up that amount of points to everybody, if not double the amount of rebounds he might get. He might get in the game. But, yeah, the Bulls just didn't do enough, man. I see teams jump them. I feel sorry for Chicago. And that's why we should cherish every moment of Michael Jordan's legacy that we could, because he actually put the city on his back. Give credit to Jerry Krause and all those guys. Yeah, Jerry Krause ego tripped a little bit, but they knew how to put a team together to win. And the Bulls now, they just disgust me. I would probably watch more Pistons games this year on League Pass than Bulls games. I'm offended with the product that they give us. I'm offended. And everybody talks about DeMar DeRozan. Oh, he's from the school of Kobe. What? Because he does a fadeaway jumper? He definitely doesn't play like Kobe and Mike in the playoffs.
He's damn sure not Kobe or Mike. Kobe defensively.
Yeah, no. Drummond, to me, nah.
I like the pickup. Nah. It's better than what they had last year. It is an upgrade, a slight upgrade, but an upgrade nonetheless.
When Vucevic goes down and you got to start Drummond, and you got to play him 35 minutes,
I'd rather start him than anybody else they got.
Yeah, Tony Bradley sucks too.
Yeah, Tony Bradley. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's an upgrade over. That's not saying much though. When you upgrade over Tony Bradley, he will rebound though.
Was it Luke Cornett last year? Or was he before last?
Year before last.
2 years ago.
Even 2 years ago, Luke Cornett. I was like, what is he doing? Like, this dude's terrible in pick and roll situations. Like, the Bulls are just not going to get it right. And I feel bad for Billy Donovan because he came to the NBA and played with some really sucky teams. He's done wonders.
He has.
With garbage. So you got to give him credit. He's a great coach. But the Bulls have done nothing.
They hit on pieces like Alex Caruso, but then he gets the freak injury. Obviously, we know how that happened.
Grayson Allen, right?
Yeah, Grayson Allen. I like Sunmu, but
yes.
Matt, I want to go to you. Who starts in place? Because I think Dragic comes off the bench.
Yes, they're not starting him.
So out of Sunmu or Caruso, your favorite, Kobe White.
Yeah, we know I'm not picking Kobe White.
Who takes that point guard spot for Lonzo in the
Honestly, I'm gonna say you give it to Io because he's got the veterans around him to where on the second Caruso can lead that second unit. That's my thinking. And I think now if you're in the half, like when if you're now obviously you get the rebound, Zach, and Io, they'll push it when there's rebounds and fast breaks. You're not worried there. In the half court, though, this is what one of the people I follow on Twitter, and she follows is a big Bulls fan, had put a post out about the Bulls in the half court. I actually think you let Patrick Williams handle the ball in the half court.
Is he going to have a good year finally? Because I know you're high on Patrick Williams.
Yes, I'm very high on him. Kawhi 2.0, I'm sticking with it. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's busting his ass in the offseason. working out with all the veterans and out in LA, the Rico Hines runs and doing all that stuff. He's going to be fine. We all know he has the skill set. He guards the opposing best player on the other team, and he's a fantastic defender. We want to just see the aggressiveness and the assertiveness on the offensive end, and he's capable of it.
Yeah. I'm worried with this team because of not necessarily because of the team, other than Lonzo being out hurts them a lot because setting guys up on offense, defensively being able to guard and hide the deficiencies of Zach LaVine. But I'm worried because of the other teams in the East. Are they better than Atlanta? Are you better than Detroit right now on paper without Lonzo?
I think they're probably slightly better than. I would pick the Bulls ahead of Detroit right now, just because of so much youth on Detroit.
Okay. I don't know. I just got question marks with them because like now that Brooklyn kind of set themselves up for a return and all that stuff, it's just going to be tough going through. But all right, we got 2 more teams to go. These are the better teams that everybody's predicting to kind of be in that either mid-tier or top tier in the East. Let's go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What did they do last year, Matt?
All right, they were 44-38. Once again, just like with the Bulls, Jared Allen misses a chunk of games. Was it right after the All-Star break, I believe?
Yep.
And they were like top 3 in the East. He goes out, they tank, their defensive numbers go down. So when I get into the defensive numbers, that's why. You'll see, because he's out. So points per game, they didn't score a lot. 108, 25 out of 30. Opponents, 105.7. They were 5th. They were 96.1 in pace, which is 26 of 30. But they start 3 7-footers, basically, so you get that. They're not going to run a lot. 20 of 30 in offense at 111.9 offensive. Defensive rating, 109, 7th in the league. And mind you, I believe they were top 3 in defensive rating before Allen went down, which was big. But the fact that they still maintained as a top 10 defensive team, I think kudos to Evan Mobley, who I think all 3 of us probably love Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I was high on him.
Maybe not as much offensively yet, but defensively, this guy's going to anchor your defense. Like, he has that Kevin Garnett factor to him defensively, I think. So I think that's why, yes, they dropped, but Evan Mobley is a rookie, so you're not expecting him to be prime Kevin Durant defensive or Kevin Garnett defensively when Jared Allen goes down, but he still held it down enough. And he missed some games too this year.
Right. Yeah, they're projected for 47.5 wins. Gonzo, obviously the big trade happens. Donovan Mitchell comes in to pair with Darius Garland. They lose Sexton. Obviously, he was out last season, so he didn't really make a difference. But then they lose Lauri Markkanen, who they like to play the big 3 lineup. He played small forward, kind of out of position. Now it's going to be Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt with Garland. Okoro is going to start at the small forward. What do you see this team doing this year?
I got him as maybe a 5th seed, 5th or 6th seed. Hey, this team this year, they won't be a playing team. I'm going to believe that. Donovan Mitchell, what you got? I know the backcourt is undersized, but he is in the East now. You know what he does in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell shows up in the playoffs all the time. And we've said this before on previous podcasts, just how Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray, players like them being so young, have shown that they're very tough and they're ready for those playoff moments. You get Ricky Rubio back. You get another big guy in your second unit too to guard the paint. Robin Lopez. You lose a lot of, I would say, dead weight and Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen. But other than that, your team has greatly improved. And you fell off at the end of last year because of Jared Allen's injury. I mean, I even like the toughness that he showed. Come back and play against the Brooklyn Nets in the play-in game in the end. And came back, wasn't even 100%. Was probably 70, 60%, but he played very well. And they had a chance to win that game. It just came down to the end. Cleveland, I like what they're doing. See, again, I like these type of teams that rebuild like this. You think they're going to be down and out once LeBron leaves, and they go back and they restack, and they actually look like they're going to be a very competitive team and become a playoff team. That could
Mm-hmm.
possibly get out of the first round. Depending
Mm-hmm.
on the matchup. So, shout out to Cleveland, man. They're making the right moves.
And kudos to JB Bickerstaff, who's done a fantastic job with this team.
Absolutely.
I don't think he gets enough credit. He has done a fantastic job. I mean, he freaking started set 3 7-footers last year. That's unheard of. Nobody does that.
Yeah, and Laurie
You know what I
Markkinen was
mean?
one of them at that. Like, we all know his ups and downs. So I feel like with the Cavs team as is, like with Mitchell, you're going to have your deficiencies, obviously defensively, like him getting scored on and things like that. But
I'm back. Sorry about that.
you're good.
Had a little thing. No, but good job by JB Bickerstaff. But I also want to say the jump that Darius Garland has made from his first year. He was really good his second year. That borderline all-star. This then last year just fantastic. And I'm a big fan of him. The small backcourt in the playoffs is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? We're going to find out come playoff time. But what I do like is now Donovan Mitchell does not have to do everything offensively with the ball in his hands because he has somebody who can do it. So he can now focus on being the quality defensive player that he is capable of being with, 6'2", 6'3", but he's solid, can move. And he was known coming out of Louisville as a defensive guy.
Yeah.
So I think this gives him that opportunity now. He can really hone in on the defensive end. You have a Okoro who can guard on the perimeter. You have and then you have Mobley and Jared Allen protecting the rim as your what big man duo defensively is better than those two? Probably not one team in the NBA.
Right. And you got Karis LeVert as a scorer up the bench.
Yes, and now you don't have to rely on him as a starter now. You can just let him be that bench guy. You have Rubio can come in if he can stay healthy again, no injuries, come in and just, ride the ship. You have Lopez who's going to come in and play hard. I like the team that they have.
Yeah, I think Rubio comes back around January-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Raul Neto will get a chance to
wait a second, Pete. I have to say this. Raul Neto.
Yeah, there you go. He'll get a chance to play a little bit of spot minutes, as a backup guard. Showed flashes last year with Washington. Obviously, Gonzo mentioned Robin Lopez being in there, but Kevin Love, I think, obviously as a stretch big. I don't think they move him. I don't think they want to move him. They leave him as a veteran presence. Now you have a team that wants to win, and so you're not having Colin Sexton hog the ball and not pass.
But he's averaging 25 a game, right?
Yeah, but that's all fine and well. But if you're not being a team player, you're not good. So
I'm glad you mentioned Kevin Love, Pete, because I've seen some things on Twitter and maybe just little podcasts in there talking about the Cavs are going to trade Kevin Love. Why would they do that?
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It made sense 2 years ago, but now he's the perfect guy, and he embraced the off the bench role and the veteran, and he's a champion. Why would you move him?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that personally, but so Matt, I'm going to ask you because Greg said he thought about fifth in the East. Is that about where you have them?
It's tough because I personally we'll talk about the Celtics. The Ime Udoka thing. We're not gonna. We'll get to that when we do the division for them. I don't think it's gonna hurt them that much, but I like Milwaukee and Boston as the top two teams. But I think after that, I could see Cleveland 3, but I could also see them 5, 4. Anywhere in that 3 to 6 range. I don't want to give a number. It's just because injuries and stuff. I'm gonna say so. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna say it. I got Cleveland 3rd.
Wow, over Brooklyn and Philly.
That's think.
Bold.
Oh, yeah.
That's bold.
It's gonna be tough. I'm gonna go. I'll go 3rd. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm not gonna back off it. I'll go Cleveland 3rd.
Okay. All right. Let's round out the NBA division previews with who we think is going to be the top team, or at least top 2. I think everybody's in consensus with that. The Milwaukee Bucks. How'd they finish last year, Matt?
I'm with you there. I got Milwaukee first in the East this year. They were 51-31. They were basically defending champs, just going through the motions, coasting, getting ready for the playoffs. So Obviously, you got Buddingholzer, one of the best coaches in the NBA, a Greg Popovich disciple. Offensive rating, 115, third in the NBA. Defensive rating, 111.8, 14th. I think they will be better defensively. I think that's kind of where the coasting happened last year a little bit, was on the defensive end. And then pace, they were 99.9, top third of the league, 7th out of 30. And I mean, they add Joe Ingles. We'll see, coming off the was it an ACL, I think?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
ACL. He's older. I like him, though. I think it's a nice pickup. But the guy I do like is Marjon Bilkamp, the rookie they drafted. I think he could be a nice piece for them.
I don't think he plays much right now, but I think as they work him in small bits and pieces, because you're not going to play Wesley Matthews every single night necessarily, like huge minutes. So they could find bits and pieces, and they're going to blow some teams out.
Yeah. And the key for him, I think, for his playing time, is how is he going to guard? If he guards, he's going to get minutes.
Right. So, Gonzo, I got a question for you. So we know, obviously, how the starters are built. Really, the only battle is going to be Grayson Allen versus Wesley Matthews. What do you think bench-wise? Do they have enough that they can keep the starters, especially Chris Middleton? Because I will argue, if Chris Middleton was healthy last year, they're in the NBA Finals. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that I've said this all along. I said, if Chris Middleton is in that series, Boston doesn't even get to game 7. Like this is over in 5-6 games. Chris Middleton means that much. Chris Middleton is also he's a clutch mid-range shooter. He can shoot the 3. His height poses problems. It's hard to defend, to stop a guy that tall who can shoot. And he's not a bad defender. He's not the greatest, but he's not terrible. He's pretty good. I got Milwaukee number 1 in the Central Division. I got to go into the finals this year.
I'm going to take it a step further with Greg. Not only would they have beat Boston, but they would have repeated as champions if Middleton doesn't get hurt.
Absolutely,
they would have beat the Golden State Warriors, and we all know how Pete and I. So we know how we feel about Warriors. But would you agree with that? Milwaukee probably wins if Middleton doesn't go down. They're probably repeat champs.
I think so. Giannis to me is at least, I'd have to probably put him as one of the top players in the NBA, if not the top.
He's the best. He's the best player in the NBA, and I honestly, I'm not going to say it's not particularly close, but I think there's a small gap between Giannis and everybody else.
Yeah, I'm just tired of hearing about, is LeBron still the top player? Is Kevin Durant? Like, Kevin Durant faded away with a Boston defense, and LeBron can't even make phone calls to get guys he wants anymore.
I'm not putting Kevin Durant ahead of Curry. He struggled against that Steph Curry made that Boston defense look stupid.
Yeah.
He tore that Boston defense up. Yeah. So that talk has to be over. We got to give Curry his roses and stuff.
Hold on.
I'll start. Let's go. I'm ready for it, Greg.
I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, it's easy to stop Kevin Durant when you're like shading him with Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And you can just double team and jump and double team him and Kyrie Irving because you ain't got nobody else to worry about on the team. But on Golden State, you have to worry about Wiggins, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole.
This is fair, but I'll say this. Outside of this year, outside of Curry, obviously Kyrie Irving would have been the Warriors' second best player this year offensively if he's on that team. You know what I mean? It's like, let's not act like Kyrie Irving is a bum.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
He's skilled, but
is he a winner? That's what I mean.
Is he a winner?
No, but he is a winner because he won a championship and he showed up in that 2016 finals. He showed up.
He won it, but Draymond got suspended. We all know how that went.
I am with you. I've said this all day long.
What did he do before that, and what has he done after that? He ain't a winner. He's let me get in the media and do my activist
I mean,
thing.
it
That's
does help
fine
when
and well if
it
that's
does
what you
help
want
when
to
you
do.
it does help when you play with one of the 3 greatest players of all time, though.
I mean, you got one of the greatest in Kevin Durant. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here? When you had adversity in
he is
Cleveland, when you were the
That's
man
fair.
in Boston,
I
when
mean,
Gordon
and
Hayward
let's
went
be honest.
down, you had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all that. Like, you didn't do anything with it.
Andrew Wiggins was the second best player for the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs and the finals. Are we really saying? Yeah, I know he did, but are we really saying well, Curry had Andrew Wiggins, so it's easier to guard Curry? Is that really what we're saying?
But Curry also had Draymond to help fix defense.
Offensively. Because I'm talking about Curry scoring, just lighting that Celtics.
Jordan Poole can score,
and they're playing 5-on-4 because they don't guard Draymond Green.
But see, this is the problem, man. This is the problem. And see, Warriors fans have to stop being delusional. And I don't know what they're smoking out there in Golden State land, but let me tell you something.
Hey, they're smoking that good, man. Hey,
we know Steph.
Shit.
We know Steph, great shooter. We know that. But when you got players like Klay Thompson, Kevin
who was
Durant,
not great, and Klay Thompson, yeah, that was before, but we're talking about this year against Boston. Klay Thompson was not great.
Jordan Poole could step up.
Jordan Poole was not great. He hit, but he was not great. I'm just saying, if you look at the offensive help, it was not great. This is the worst team offensively, and he lit that fucking Celtics team up.
But the other side of it, Boston couldn't do anything offensively.
Because Golden State actually plays good defense. That's the one thing I will say. Yeah.
Matt, Poole, Klay Thompson were not the best. But you can't leave them open either.
No, you can't. No, you can't do that. But you can't leave Kyrie. You can't leave Kyrie open. You can't leave him open. You can't leave Seth Curry open. You know what I mean? Let's not act like they don't have good shooters.
If you leave Kyrie open, he might just go run around the court.
No, he's shooting at
burning sage.
Stop.
Burning sage.
Stop.
So let's wrap up. Let's wrap up Milwaukee. Do we all have them going to the finals? Are we all in consensus there?
I think we are at a consensus.
I got to go into the finals.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I got to see the matchup they play in the finals first, because if injuries happen and they're somehow like playing the Clippers, that might be a tight matchup if injuries are everybody's healthy.
I already know who my pick is to win the title, but hey, we'll get to that when it's time. Not this episode.
All right. Well, that wraps up the division previews. Now, for all our NFL fans, this is something that we've wanted to do for a while. This is Gonzo's expertise. He's a huge football fan. So, Gonzo, you're going to give us your matchup of the week and then highlight some of the better teams or better players and some of the players that are teams that have just been awful so far in the first 2 weeks.
The matchup of the week. The matchup of the week. I know people want to say the Packers and Buccaneers. No, the matchup of the week is the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. They're the matchup of the week. Whichever team wins this game takes hold of the division. We got Josh Allen going against Tua Tagovailoa, who had 6 touchdown passes last week against the Baltimore Ravens defense. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they are killing it on the football field right now. That's a must-watch game. Surprises for me this year so far are Jacksonville Jaguars. They're number 1 in their division. The division sucks so bad that even they suck and end up being number 1. Isn't that something? The Browns, they're actually making it with Jacoby Brissett. They're now 2-1, leading their division. Dolphins and Bills tied up. I mentioned them before. These are 2 good teams. The Eagles, the emergence of Jalen Hurts. He is now a pocket passer. Not only can he pass in the pocket, but he can throw on the run. He has a dangerous receiving core right now, and guess what? Their defense is playing lights out. 2 interceptions by Darius Slay the other night, guarding Justin Jefferson on the Minnesota Vikings, arguably a top 3 receiver in the NFL. The NFC North, let's be real. Everybody's 1-1. The whole division is butt cheeks, the Packers included. They have no receivers, but they have Aaron Rodgers. They looked really good last week because they beat what? My lovable bums, the Bears. I think everybody's talking about St. Louis this year. Let's be real. It's very hard to repeat in the NFL. The 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo are probably going to win this division. I know I'm speaking early, but I got them winning this division. Buccaneers, we already know what it is. You have the GOAT, and then you gave him all the weapons he needs. It's like a Swiss Army knife. He has every tool he needs. He has running backs on deck, receivers on deck, tight ends on deck, defense on deck, a great coach, a good coach, should I say, defensive coach in Todd Bowles. Let me tell you something. This team might make it to the Super Bowl again. And last but not least, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't get your hopes up high. They played two teams. They played two teams early that there's no competition. Arizona, let's be real. Arizona Cardinals are not a great team. They got beat down in the first playoff game last year in the opening game. And I'm talking about they got obliterated. The Chargers, Justin Herbert, great regular season stats, but in clutch games, he's probably one of the worst. Russell Wilson thought the grass was greener in Denver. Obviously, life is cold in Denver. Not playing very well. And let's talk about the Raiders. Devontae Adams last week, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had like 1 or 2 catches for like 17 or 20 yards. Stop. Has to do better. Raiders, get your game together. Run the ball more. Stop trying to pass. This ain't Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams anymore. It's David Carr. You got to be realistic. That's all for me for the NFL.
Hey, I got a question for Gonz real quick because you mentioned the Jaguars. Is Trevor Lawrence going to be the guy?
I think so. I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. Considering last year, he threw a lot of interceptions, which we have to be patient.
So did Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning had like 28 interceptions his first year in the NFL.
Yep.
But he has all the tools. He can run, he can throw, not to mention he's good looking. He'll be just fine.
You got Kirk at receiver who's been going off.
I asked the question because going into that draft a year ago, it's like this is the most complete quarterback prospect maybe in the last 20 years. So that's why I asked.
Absolutely.
And I'm not the football guy, so I ask.
But one thing about the Jaguars, they got a decent defense. So in that division, they have a chance to actually win this division. The Colts, who saw the Colts going 0-2? You tie with the Texans, and then you lose last week. Like, come on, man! Like that's just unacceptable. You got to run a game. You got Matt Ryan as quarterback over Carson Wentz, and right now Carson Wentz looks like a better quarterback than Matt Ryan right now.
Well, in fairness to Matt Ryan, I did see a stat today that their offensive line, which was I think ranked top like 3 last year, maybe even number 1 for the Colts, is like dead last right now.
And trust me, that line should not be last with Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, that's what they said. That's what they said. Their line is too good to be dead last.
Yes, too good. Quentin Nelson alone is a force to be reckoned with. I've never seen a guy pancake somebody and lay him flat out and then say sorry and help the guy up. Like he's like abusive and mean as a tackle. Guess what? He's also very polite.
I'm gonna say this. I got 2 things. First, go Eagles with Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely.
Second thing, Baker Mayfield thought it was rough in Cleveland. Now he's making Christian McCaffrey look average in Carolina. That's looking a little suspect, if you ask me, as far as their overall play. Obviously, maybe things can turn around, but I don't know. I think it might just be Baker Mayfield after all. Maybe it wasn't in Cleveland.
And then look, Baker Mayfield has not had back-to-back 100-yard receivers. I think none of last year, and I don't think all of his career from a stat I seen the other day. But Jacoby Brissett, starting already 3 games of the season, he has Amari Cooper with 2 back-to-back 100-yard games.
Yep.
What do you know? It must have been Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Nick Chubb's been on fire as well. So,
I mean, you can't make this up, But go Eagles, though. I'm loving it.
Oh yeah.
I hope the Eagles. I hope they break their feet all the way up to the kneecaps in the behinds of the Dallas Cowboys. Go Philly.
Yeah,
Go Eagles.
absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to
Nice.
wrap us up. Make sure you like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already to the YouTube channel. We're also on all audio platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're also on Stitcher and a couple others as well. So make sure you're subscribed there. Subscribe there. Also, we're now on Instagram and TikTok. We're starting to post there with shorter clips and things like that. So make sure you're subscribed. We'll be back next week with another NBA division preview and more of Gonzo's NFL expertise. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We are Loop City, and we're out.